Hey everyone, the energy is absolutely electric today. Picture this, you're standing in the vibrant, wildly historic Mexico City Stadium, and it is packed to the absolute brim. We're looking at the final first-round group stage match of the 2026 World Cup. And let me tell you, it's a clash that literally gave us a little bit of everything. We're talking heartbreak, historic firsts, and a brutal masterclass in capitalizing on the tiniest of errors. Let's explore exactly how this unforgettable matchup between Uzbekistan and Colombia unfolded in today's Explainer.
0. That is the exact number of World Cup matches Uzbekistan had played before stepping onto the pitch today. Try to just imagine the incredible emotional weight carried by those players. We're talking about a nation making its very first appearance on football's biggest, brightest stage. And the sheer passion from the thousands of fans who traveled? Unbelievable. Some of them were on flights for well over 14 hours, and the energy was so palpable that they literally hadn't stopped singing for 3 hours before kickoff. It was a historic, immensely proud moment just to hear that starting whistle blow.
Okay, let's dive into this matchup because the contrast is fascinating. On one side, we have the ultimate passionate underdogs, Uzbekistan, the debutants, led by none other than former World Cup winning captain Fabio Cannavaro. And he's made the really bold move to trust his youth to handle some of the most dangerous attackers in the world. Leading the line for them is their national hero, Eldar Shomarov, boasting an all-time record of 44 goals. Facing them, the seasoned South American giants, Colombia. They are absolutely packed with experienced veterans. You've got the brilliant James Rodriguez looking to pull the strings from a slightly deeper position, and Luis Diaz bringing his elite European pedigree to the wings. So it's raw, untested energy versus cold, calculated experience.
Part 1. Colombia takes the lead.
As the match kicked off, that dynamic I just mentioned became clear very, very quickly. Despite Uzbekistan bringing boundless energy and flying into tackles, the Colombian side patiently began to dictate the pace of the game. The tension early on was thick. As one observer beautifully put it, the stadium was on its feet for all the world as though that one would nestle into the far corner. Luis Diaz was an absolute menace right out of the gate. His movement kept the Uzbekistan defense constantly scrambling. At one point, Diaz played a gorgeous reverse ball, drifted inside, and fired a shot across the goal that rattled right off the post, with the goalkeeper getting just the faintest touch to it. The entire stadium gasped. You could just feel Colombia knocking loudly on the door.
So how did Colombia actually break the deadlock? Well, it started with James Rodriguez orchestrating play from deep, pulling the strings to create space. Then Luis Diaz delivered a ball that was absolute perfection, just incisive and incredibly dangerous. But here is where the lack of experience really showed for Uzbekistan. Their defenders got caught entirely ball-watching. They were locked in on the pass, completely ignoring the runner. Munoz made a brilliant surging run, and instead of going with his left, he backed himself to casually flick it goalwards with his favored right foot. It was a beautiful, confident finish that punished the defense and sent Colombia into the halftime break with a crucial 1-0 lead.
Moving on to Part 2, the historic equalizer.
Now, if you thought the debutants were just going to roll over, you'd be totally mistaken. Uzbekistan came out of the tunnel with an entirely renewed sense of desperation and fire, and the man behind the brewing magic was Eldar Shomarov. Now, what's really interesting about this is his history. Remember, he's the guy who secured their ticket here in the first place, scoring 4 of his team's 5 international goals in their thrilling 6-3 final qualifying win over Venezuela. He is their absolute talisman. He'd had a pretty quiet first half, but great players find a way to impact the game, and Shomarov was about to etch his name into the history books forever.
Let's trace this breathtaking sequence. First, Shomarov gets himself into the penalty area. He's practically running out of pitch, but somehow he manages to get a dipping, dropping shot on target. This tricky shot forces a critical mistake from Colombia's goalkeeper, Vargas. He attempts to deal with it dropping over his shoulder, but he spills the ball. And, showing sheer, unbelievable determination, Fazale has followed the play perfectly. He crashes the box and smashes the loose ball home. The stadium absolutely erupts. It is Uzbekistan's first ever World Cup goal, and just like that, we're tied at 1-1.
Which brings us to Part 3, punishing the mistakes.
That euphoric high, however, quickly gives way to the harsh realities of tournament football. When looking at what separates good teams from ruthless ones, it often comes down to this concept of fine margins. Heart, passion, boundless energy, those are incredible things. They're why we love the sport. But against elite opponents, those traits aren't always enough. In high-stakes matches, outcomes are decided by tiny misjudgments, momentary lapses in concentration, or a slight technical error. It is completely unforgiving.
Just compare the defining moments of the second half to see what I mean. Vargas fumbles the tricky shot, and Uzbekistan punishes it to equalize. But shortly after Uzbekistan's goal, Luis Diaz finds space. He doesn't hit it right in the corner. Honestly, it's a completely savable shot. He effectively shows the goalkeeper exactly where he's putting it. The keeper, Yusupov, reads it, gets down, but he just doesn't have a strong enough left arm to keep it out. There's just enough pace for it to dribble into the back of the net. Both keepers made errors in the second half, right? But Luis Diaz used his elite awareness to immediately punish Yusupov's mistake, brutally reclaiming a 2-1 lead for Colombia. That is fine margins in action.
And finally, part 4, fine margins seal it.
Let's move to stoppage time and see how this builds, because the timeline here was breathless. We hit 90 minutes and a massive 8+ minutes are added. Uzbekistan is pushing forward desperately, but Colombia introduces substitute Leandro Campas. He provides this massive physical mismatch against the exhausted debutants. He's on the floor, he's up again, he just absolutely refuses to give up. He chases a ball down, keeping it in play when literally everyone thought he was just heading for the corner flag to waste time. Instead, he delivers an unbelievable cross that gets finished to seal a 3-1 victory. But wait, well past the allotted 8 minutes, Uzbekistan's 18-year-old Kimov gets the ball out of his feet and rockets a shot that smashes the crossbar. A goal of the tournament contender denied by inches. If that goes in earlier, it's 2-2. Instead, the game is completely taken away from them.
So the crucial point is this. When the dust settled, the difference was painfully clear. Uzbekistan brought unmatched debut energy and achieved the incredible milestone of their first historic goal. They contributed massively to a wildly riveting game of football. But their deciding factor? Crucial defensive lapses and a goalkeeping error. Colombia, on the other hand, relied on their European pedigree and a deep bench, but their true deciding factor was a ruthless efficiency in capitalizing on those fine margins. And guys, that is the difference between a 1 and a 3 on the final scoreboard.
Which leaves us with this final, lingering thought. Uzbekistan is understandably devastated today. They showed the entire world they absolutely have the heart, the passion, and the talent to belong on this stage. But as we've seen, heart alone doesn't secure points. As they pick themselves up for their next match, the ultimate question remains, can they adapt quickly enough to master the brutal, fine margins required to survive a World Cup group stage? I can't wait to find out, and I really hope you'll join me next time as we continue to break it all down. Thanks for exploring this with me.